A good writer must also be a good reader. So, fellow writers, what are you reading these days? I always ask you that. And part two, what tips can you learn from it, or what lessons can you apply from it to your own writing? It's Sam with another Friday video for you. I'll tell you my answer in just a moment, but it seems to be kind of a sci-fi heavy day for us, because not only is it the premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi today, no spoilers, haven't watched it yet. I got family in town, which is great, but we've just been doing other things. I'll watch it soon, I hope. But yeah, the Force will be with us there. But besides that, I'm also reviewing my latest fiction sci-fi read, and let me show you what that is, because I'm excited about it, and I want to tell you all about it, and I liked it. This is Recorder by Cathy McCrumb. Cathy McCrumb is a friend of mine who's been part of my writers group virtually, and this is her first published novel. She got published with an actual company, which I know some of us have done self-publishing and such, which is also great. But she went the traditional route and got a 3-book deal with a company, which is really cool. They're called Enclave Publishing. So this is just so you know what, you can find it later. This is Recorder, Children of the Consortium, Book 1 by my friend Cathy McCrumb. Some of you have heard me talk about it before. If you follow my TikTok, I've done just, I think I posted a quick thing or two about it. Cathy has been on here before for an interview and for just little chats, and I've talked to her about her writing. So I had heard bits and pieces of this book before in our writing group, and I knew the characters a little bit, but this is the first time that I've actually sat down and read the whole thing cover to cover, and I finished the other night, and it was good. And I'm excited for this book because I want to tell you about it, and I want more people to discover my author friend. But I'm not just saying it because she's my friend. I think it's a really good book. So let me tell you what I liked about it, and hopefully get you interested in it too. And then we'll do a few takeaways for our own writing. Okay. So Recorder, like I said, it's sci-fi. I believe Publishers Weekly or someone like that reviewed it and called it hard sci-fi with heart, which is a good, nice review to get from a major publisher. It's obviously space travel, if you couldn't tell from the cover, and things like. And I guess you could call it vaguely dystopian too. The Consortium, as the title implies, is the overarching government or confederation of planets or whatever. I'm actually not too clear on that because it was kind of in the background of this first book. I'll talk about that later, but it's more about the Recorder, who is a character, and her friends and such. So the Recorder, the main character, she's just called Recorder. Recorders in this universe are like, I guess you could say, human computers. Like they have like a drone with them and a neural implant that helps them kind of process information, and their duty is just, I guess, to record events or observe events and record them objectively for the Consortium. So this kind of trope has been done in sci-fi before. You can think about Spock, who is like, mostly logical and not too emotional, and big on the intellect. Or I think about the Mentats, which are the human computers in Dune. It's kind of like that. So this kind of trope has been done before, and I mean there's sci-fi reasons to explain it. Like, she was given a neural implant to, I guess, keep her brain in check or whatever, and a drone that helps her process information and helps her understand interactions with people and things like that. But what you have to understand is she's one of those characters who is at first, at least, is kind of logical, maybe almost coldly logical. Doesn't understand human interaction or human emotions very much. I mean, she is a human, yes, but some people say, like, oh, the recorders are barely even human because they're just computers who are designed to help the Consortium or something like that. So this character who, some would say is barely human, and it's her journey. It's told in first-person narration, which I think is really cool because, I mean, this kind of character with their unique personality can be a hard one to write. So that's pretty cool. And I'll tell you something. It's maybe a minor spoiler, but it happens early enough in the book that I think it's just part of the premise, so it's okay. The cover flap even alludes to it, but relatively early on, like within the first maybe 10 chapters or so, they're on a mission, and like a rescue mission to some place, some space station, I think. And relatively early on in the book, during this mission, her drone gets destroyed and her neural implant gets damaged, and they have to like recover her and things like that. And but the doctor tells her basically, you're not a recorder anymore because those things have been damaged, and so she has to deal with, like, well, if I'm not a recorder, then who am I? Again, that happens fairly early on. Hope it wasn't a big spoiler, but it's kind of this thing of, well, you know, I've been trained all my life to be a human computer, basically, to be this unfeeling, you know, unemotional, you know, distant person, and now I have a chance to possibly be something else and learn about human interactions and relationships and things like that. And what does that look like for me? Is it good or bad? That kind of thing. So again, first person narration, so you get to see kind of from a first-hand lens her journey from being this you know, cold, logical, emotional person to starting to open up a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't say she'd undergo as a complete, you know, 180 transformation in the book. You know, by the end, she still has much of her conditioning and training, but you know, she started to open up and realize the value of friendships and things like that. And spoilers, but you can tell that's kind of where it's going. So that's just I think it's a really cool character concept. I mean, again, not that no sci-fi has ever done this before, but it's a cool character concept, and it's cool to see a character like that challenged on who she is and wrestling with that and things like that. And throughout the book, she kind of she investigates, like, I think kind of a mystery that has to do with the space station where they were doing a rescue mission in the first place, but it is largely about her character development and just what this new life kind of does to her and everything like that. So it's really good. Again, it's sci-fi with heart, deals with, among other things, that conflict between logic and emotion, and I think that's a very human conflict that we all deal with, and it's fascinating to me in writing and literature when it's done well. So yeah, let me tell you what I liked about it, other than everything I just said. The character development is on point, like 100%, like A++. Excellent character development for the recorder herself. Obviously, like I said, it's just really interesting and unique to read a book from the perspective of a character like this. And Cathy McCrumb nails the voice. Like it's just the voice is very consistent and just you, like the details of how this person would process things. Like it seems very consistent to me. I mean, I admit I'm someone who I've said this before in some of my fiction. I lean a little bit towards the logical, emotionless side sometimes. I mean, obviously not to an extreme. I'm still human, but I mean, I can vaguely relate to characters like that, and so like just when I read a character like this and they're done well, I'm like, this is really good, and this is the kind of details that I think through in navigating relationships and logistics and things like that. So she nails the recorder's voice. I mean, even when I first heard some snippets of this story and I didn't know much else about the story, again, I could relate to that trope because it's a familiar trope, but I was like, this kind of character, like Cathy, really gets it, and she writes the recorder very well. But that's not the only character who is important. The recorder has, like, you know, her friends on the spaceship with her, kind of a, you know, ragtag band of space explorers, like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 other major characters who are involved, and minor spoilers also. One of them ends up being a romantic interest for her, which is also cool and fun for the story. And these characters are also well developed. Each one gets their own backstory for like a chapter, so the flashbacks are there and helpful to give you some context, but they're not overwhelming. They don't detract from the main story. They're just there, and it's helpful. So each character, I'd say, is well developed, and they have, you know, the human drama that goes on between them and things like that. And it's just it feels real. It feels real. You can see the recorder and her journey as she interacts with each character and has to navigate through emotions and friendships and feelings and conflicts and things like that. And it's just it's fun to watch. If I had to make a minor criticism, again, I still really liked it. So I mean, any criticisms are just nitpicking. There were maybe a couple times where I felt like I wasn't sure where the overall plot was going. I guess I'd say the human character drama is so upfront, and that was the main thing that I'd hear. It's dialogue heavy in some parts, maybe a lot of parts, and there were times when just there was a lot of dialogue back and forth, and that was done like super well. But then I was like, I'm not sure what the overall plot is or like where it's going. I will say this, like, when the recorder finds out that she can't be a recorder anymore, they kind of briefly debate, like, should we go back to the Consortium? But the Consortium is like, you know, they're not a benevolent government. Basically, everyone kind of realizes, well, she's damaged goods now. Like, they're not going to take her back and fix her. Like, a damaged recorder has no place in the consortium and no place in society, and so they kind of start getting her to make this plan to go away, and like you can escape from them and live your own life and stuff like that, which is great. And the whole time, basically the whole book, until maybe the very end, they're on a spaceship heading back to the consortium, or back to whatever the base is called. I think it's Lunar One. Just back to the base they're supposed to be at. So like this whole time, the consortium is kind of this looming, I guess, entity. If you want to call them a villain, I guess you could. But there's this looming threat in the background, but not really up front. Like, because they're on a spaceship and it takes them, I don't know, 7 or 10 days, and to get back to where they are. And the whole first book takes place while they're on that ship. And during that, during that time, the consortium isn't with them. It's kind of mentioned and kind of talked about, but there's not like consortium agents hunting her down actively or anything like that. It's more like, what are we going to do when we get back there, because you're not part of them anymore, and so is the recorder going to run off and start her own life, or what? And I guess I would say the reason why there were times where I didn't know where it was going was I was like, well, they're just on a spaceship. They're kind of waiting to get back to their place. And yes, it's building toward that, and we know from everyone talking about it, there's going to be a moment of crisis or a moment of decision or something like that when they get back there. But they have to wait, and so there's a lot of human drama in the meantime. And I mean, I don't use drama in a negative way. Like it's more than just melodrama or whatever. But it's, you know, there's intrigue. They're looking into a mystery, like I mentioned, a past murder of one of the characters' fathers. It's all connected. There is a conspiracy. There do end up being some I'd say villainous characters. I won't tell you who they are because that would be a spoiler. But there's a plot they have to uncover and things like that. So anyway, there were times when the human drama seemed to overtake the main plot. That's almost a good thing. Like it means the human drama is done really well. It's just like there were times I was like, I'm not sure where the plot is going, but basically the whole plot is she can't be a recorder anymore. She has to figure out what to do with her life and what's going to happen next before they get back to the base, which is going to happen at the end of the book. It's, again, there's more to it than that. I mean, there's more details and more secrets to uncover. But as far as her personal character development arc, that's pretty much it. Like I'm not a recorder anymore. What am I going to do with my life? And this is an impending deadline, because if I go back to the consortium, then I don't know what they would do to her. They would either destroy her or just capture her or something. So she wants to get away from them. So anyway, really good book. You know, high emotional stakes, really well written characters, all that stuff. If I had to apply a writing tip from it, I'd just say learn from the character development, because was done really well. I mean, I know people have said this before, and I have too probably, but like, I guess good fiction, or at least good genre fiction, if you're writing genre fiction, like a lot of us are, you have, I guess the formula is extraordinary circumstances with ordinary people. I'll say it again, or I'll say it backwards. Ordinary people, extraordinary circumstances, ordinary people. What I mean by that is, you know, space travel, human computers, things like that. Yes, big circumstances, larger than life. That's stuff that we never have to deal with in our real life. But by ordinary people, I mean realistic, relatable people, people who the reader can connect to, even though they're in this fantasy world. They're realistic, well-developed characters. Even the recorder, who again is a kind of character, you know, who doesn't exist in real life. I mean, we don't actually have human computers or whatever you want to call them. You know, once you get to know her, she is a real, well-developed character who has, you know, this big thing in her past, and this big trauma, and this crisis of identity that I think a lot of us can relate to also. So again, ordinary characters, extraordinary circumstances, but make sure your characters are real. Even when your circumstances are big and larger than life, make sure your characters are real and that the reader can connect to them. Cathy does that really well. I mean, I've read other people do that really well. I've said that about other reviews before, but Cathy does that really well. So that's Recorder. I encourage you to check it out. Again, it's Recorder, Children of the Consortium, Book 1 from Enclave Publishing. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Cathy's website or just Google it, and it won't take you long. Before I sign off, I wanted to show you the cover reveal of the next book, because the cover reveal actually just happened this past week, and I got to be a part of that, which was cool. Her next book, book 2 in the same trilogy, next one is called Aberration. It's coming out in November, and I'll show you the cover in just a moment. If you're listening to this and it's just an audio format on the podcast after the fact, you'll have to miss this. Sorry. You can go to my Facebook page and find it there, or just Google, because it's out on the internet now. Google Aberration, Cathy McCrumb, and you'll see it. But here's the cover. I'm holding my phone. Here's the cover for book 2 coming in November. It looks really cool. I'm excited. Having just finished the first one, I'm excited, and I know that the title now, Aberration. I mean, this is, I guess, a minor spoiler also maybe, but it refers to her. It refers to, or I'm pretty sure, it refers to the recorder, who's not a recorder anymore, because she's like, I was this thing, now I'm not this thing, so what am I now? Am I just like a misfit or an aberration? I think someone calls her that toward the end of book 1, and yeah, so it's kind of, again, her journey figuring out what's going to happen to her, what her path will take her on next time. So that's coming in November. It's 6 months away, but there's a pre-order available. So yeah, sign up for that. I really recommend you check out Cathy McCrumb's stuff, because one, it's good to support up and coming new authors who are doing the stuff that we all want to do, and she's doing it well. But two, it's a really good book. If you like sci-fi with heart, if you like these kinds of characters, and you want to get you want to see what other people are successfully doing in that genre, read Recorder, read Aberration when it comes out. There will be a book 3 too, I guess, next year. But yeah, check out Cathy McCrumb and Recorder, and keep writing and keep applying those things to your writing. Remember, the takeaway today, today's writing tip: extraordinary circumstances, ordinary characters. Larger than life circumstances, down to earth characters. Combine those two, do it well, and you'll have a book that people enjoy reading. Okay, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Have a great weekend. May the force be with you all.